Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Amon's Bogus Hangout. I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Zara because I know she likes it when I do. Zara, please tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Zara Halter, and I write for the web.
Thank you. Steve, please say hello.
Steve Grenser with Steam Driven Media.
And Thomas, introduce yourself, please.
Thomas Sickle, founder of Blueprint Marketing.
And happy birthday, Thomas.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I was wondering if you were going to be here today.
Wouldn't miss it. Yep.
So you made it through the hurricane, all right?
I did, yeah. A lot of places were pretty badly damaged, but I was very lucky. I was extremely lucky, in fact. We got a lot of flooding, but compared to the images I've seen of Nantucket, I'm not in Nantucket right now. I'm in Newcastle, and especially Rhode Island, where cars are underwater. Like Newport, looked like it was pretty much underwater.
Yeah, I saw some pictures that were kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very afraid that would happen to me.
They made me happy I live in a hill.
Absolutely, yeah. I left Nantucket not because of this, but it just happy coincidence. And we thought that was going to have a direct hit, and it looked like more New York. And I actually know someone who was on a sailboat right when it hit Connecticut, but they're okay.
Wow.
And Terry, introduce yourself.
Terry Van Horn, retired, Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Bill Slawski of SEO by the Sea, and I'm the Director of SEO Research for Go Fish Digital. So have you all been following the story about titles at Google?
Yes.
And how Google is rewriting titles. So I get picked on.
Click-through marketing. Google has been known to adjust titles in SERPs by making occasional small tweaks such as
Is that
my phone?
It now appears Google are going an extra step further in overriding titles with completely different text.
it's pretty good, accurate.
So I wrote on Twitter that Google's been doing this since at least 2012, if not longer.
Yes, they have.
Not always using headings, but they have been rewriting titles.
So a lot of people complain that people were saying this isn't new, but they're not giving any more information than that. As far as I know, if you're the one making claims that something's changed and Google's doing different things with titles, you've got the burden of proof.
Yeah.
You've got to bring data explaining what you think is different. Say that guy's complaining this isn't new. He doesn't say anything more than that. Well, you didn't say anything about how it's different.
Well, and when you have a lot of people saying this is not new, and we've been seeing it for a decade, I would think that this would not be a hard thing to research, that people were complaining about this a long time ago.
Right.
Lily Ray
did a pretty good job of breaking it down and explaining some of the differences.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't it occur to anyone to go and search it?
Yeah.
That would be too much like work, Terry.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I like
easier to just wait for someone to tell you.
You're such a radical. Next thing you'll be expecting
logical fallacy.
Next thing you'll be expecting people to show critical thinking.
Yeah.
What flabbergasts me is there's all this about titles, but no one actually asked, does it affect the rankings of the page? Do they use the title you wrote, or do they use the one that they wrote?
And I said
that. And that's the most important thing.
I said I love Google Search Console and the API that shows up in Screaming Frog that tells you how many clicks and how many search impressions things get. And if you're getting things with lots of good search impressions but very few clicks, it might be time to rewrite those titles yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't wait for Google to rewrite them.
But if Google
doesn't
rewrites,
rewrite the title because they can, they rewrite it because it doesn't match the query.
that's true.
Right. And as Matt Cutt said, like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, with a site like Starbucks, Starbucks doesn't sell homes. Starbucks sells coffee. So Starbucks homepage shouldn't be home. It should be coffee company or coffee for sale.
Right. And I mean, if you think about it though, if you're searching a query like where to buy birthday supplies or supplies for a party supplies, and the homepage title is something like home or event gift shop, and it changes your title to party supplies because it's somewhere in the content, that's a big up for you from Google. That's a big help.
Yeah, that's what I think. Instead of, crying that they changed my title, why don't you go to Search Console and check the queries and see if it went up when they changed the title? I mean, that would be the smart thing to do. That's what I would do. Instead of crying that they rewrote my title.
I only cried for 15 minutes.
Crying about the title being changed and actually finding out. Did it help or did it hurt?
It's good if you rank highly, but if nobody clicks on what you rank highly for, you're default. Not
Well,
Google.
it's a useless ranking.
Yeah.
You might as well not rank if nobody clicks it.
Because you're wasting your time trying to get the page to rank.
Yeah. And people, back in when I started, it was very easy to match a title to a query, right?
yeah.
These days, with natural language processing and passages and all the other things that they're doing, pages get found for multiple queries. So you can't write the exact title for every query that you might rank for.
But you can come up with a good guess as to what a page might rank for.
Yeah,
I've worked with clients who wanted to rank their pages for some vanity terms that nobody would ever search for. And I've had to stop them in the middle of meetings and saying, listen, you've got two choices here. Number one is you can rank for things that your audience is going to search for, in which case you might make lots of money. Or you can rank well for a term that you want, in which case you might make no money whatsoever at all.
yeah, not a hard choice when you think about it, but people do sometimes, make it's like you were saying with caveman insurance. Not too many people are insuring cavemen these days, so for museums maybe, but it's a Lloyd's of London issue, not a other company issue.
Right. Find the terms that people are going to search for and rank for those things.
Exactly. But I mean, I think that, I definitely agree with the whole not crying about what Google's doing in this scenario. If people have had poorly written titles, I mean, we've seen this happen time and time again. I think it's happening more now, but it's a very good thing, and it helps Google. It helps us, helps clients.
I mean, it's in Google's best interest to give you good search results and make you happy with what you find on the search engine.
Oh, yeah.
You're muted, Terry.
I
Saw your lips moving, but we couldn't hear you, Terry.
I said, I think they do it just because they can.
That's a good possibility.
It's their website?
Yep. So I'm not going to complain when they do. Besides,
I remember
to a wall.
I remember I complained back in 2012, and Pierre wouldn't have anything to do with it because he wrote a Google blog post in 2012 explaining why they were doing it. And the reason why was our titles get more clicks than yours.
But do those clicks convert?
If nobody clicks at all, it never converts.
But because I spend more time on the paid side of the fence.
Yeah.
We could do an awful lot with titles and descriptions to guide user intent.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of Google's automated stuff so wildly out of whack for what our intent is as the advertiser.
Yeah.
That I'm not always convinced that their decision on what should be shown to get the click is actually valid for me.
And Dan Russell, who is a researcher of searcher intent type stuff at Google, said, okay, so sometimes we make decisions based on what we think might click using our intuition. The problem is computer scientists' intuition often sucks.
Very much. Well, and it's like I get almost on a daily basis Google ad suggestions saying, let us automate building your ads for you. And my answer is always, no, I want control over my ad copy because I've
hell no.
seen. Yeah, I've
How would they ever hurt you? Charge you more? Make it.
I've been in the office one rainy holiday Monday where we got a phone call from a client who said, please turn ads off. They were getting so many phone calls about storm doors and storm windows, they couldn't handle the demand.
But they don't sell storm doors, do they?
Well, this client did, yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
They were getting bids like crazy.
That's a good problem to have, but
Yeah.
why spend money on ads that you can't take advantage of, right?
I have clients in the home healthcare niche scattered across the country, visiting nurses type stuff. And Google simply cannot understand that there is a difference between elderly care at home and nursing homes.
Yep.
And allowing them to do anything that involves changing titles, changing descriptions, and any of that is just terrifying because it's so wildly wrong most of the time. And there's a certain level of nuance that I don't think we're anywhere near algorithms being able to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Usually the site owner has the right answer because they know the business. They're subject matter experts.
Yes. And that's usually my biggest discussion I have with the Google representatives that call and want to make suggestions. It's like, here's all the reasons why you're wrong. Now go away. Well, you should try these automated. Apparently, they get paid by how many people they get to sign up for automation.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah.
That's their key metric is turn on the automated tool this, the automated tool that. And it's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I had them ask me that, and I said, okay, show me what you're going to do, but don't implement it until I tell you. They redirected all the searches, so they went to the homepage. When I asked them, well, why would you do that? Well, that's the only page that is pertinent to all these query terms. Oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, forget it. Turn it off, and don't call me again.
I'll lose my number. Yeah.
So potentially every page on the site's a landing page, except the way they're doing it, it wasn't.
No, they wanted everything routed to the homepage, which is just throwing money down the toilet, but it would get a lot of clicks. To me, when those guys call, they have only one thing in mind, and it's not to help you make money.
I agree. I think Google is obviously in the business of, they're a business. They're the CEO's fiduciary obligation to their shareholders is to make money. I think that for them to take over your ad campaign, they're going to probably, I've seen people rank for iPhone and they have their the things have nothing to do with an iPhone, and under Google's control.
One of the first things we learned as SEOs was you talk to clients, you try to set KPIs with them together, key performance indicators. You try to understand their business enough so that you can do things that they appreciate. And that's the step that Google's missed out.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, it's counter to their goals. That's why. We want to minimize spend and maximize results. They want to minimize or maximize spend, period. And if you don't get the results, as long as you keep spending, it's cool.
Yeah, but that's that's not sustainable.
Well,
right?
They're doing okay so far.
Because you know what? They lose so much money so fast, people just turn them off and don't go back.
Yep.
Not everyone.
Because they see the company doesn't care that they're losing them money. They only care about themselves.
I disagree with you about that, Terry, to the extent that a lot of business owners have absolutely no idea what their profit levels are where their real business is coming from. They don't know.
They don't really know whether they're making money or not.
All they see is
I see a lot of that too.
I spent $5,000. I got this many clicks. Therefore, I'm doing good. And that's
I ranked #1, so I must be making a lot of sales.
Well, that's the one that drives me up a tree when I see somebody. Their metric is where they are on page 1. If they're a number 1 or 2, then they think they're successful. If their conversion rate is in the cellar, they're not successful. And what are you ranking for? Lithuanian paper hangers?
Hey, that's one of my prize terms.
Doc, there are times where terms just aren't going to convert, but they're part of the route to a conversion. Would you agree, Steve? So you have to have the proper, and this goes back to one of the notes I sent out. And basically, when you're measuring success, it all matters. All that really matters is your KPI. If you don't choose those correctly, the clients are never going to be happy because you haven't met their goals or the goals that you agreed to.
Well, but kind of expanding on Steve's point, though, there's a hell of a lot of small business owners out there that wouldn't have a clue how to identify their KPIs.
Which is why it's important to talk to them, to explain how those
absolutely.
things work.
I mean, but my God, we've got hundreds of colleagues, so-called colleagues in this business who don't know how to find a KPI too. So
that's true. They should, but they don't. You know how you want to get an icy stare back from a client? Ask them the big question. How much is a client worth to you?
Oh, yeah.
How much is a client worth to you?
Or a customer?
If you spend the time talking to your client, explaining things to them, and they learn it, and they don't forget
most
it.
Most of them don't know, and that should be the start of any business, is knowing how much you make off getting a new client.
Yeah.
I've had clients that we will admit they're not your average client, who are literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, have no clue what any of those numbers are, and simply don't care. And when you try to lead them down that path, they don't care. They don't want to know. They have no need to know. They're already making money. All they want you to do is just throw more traffic at the wall. And it's like, well, if that's all you want, we can fire up some bots and make your numbers explode, but you won't get any more sales.
Anyone can get traffic.
I mean,
it's ROI that matters.
It's tough because we know what we need to do, but not every client is willing to, take the time, make the steps. And I've gotten in the habit of personally just sending those people on down the road, because I know over the long term that's not going to be a good relationship for either of us. I've got one now. We're going on 2 months now, and she hasn't replied to an email. So I'm gonna stop billing her and stop doing the work.
Fair.
It's sad, but you can have success with other clients.
Yeah.
You've got opportunity costs.
Yeah, that is a real metric that people need to take into effect or need to consider once they get to a certain point. So is it worth taking on certain clients? Are you missing, or if you can't, if this client isn't performing the way that or doing what their end of the bargain is, then is it worth it for you to actually work with them, continue to work with them? And what is your contract too? Don't break that, obviously.
Another great reason to not have contracts so you can fire them at will.
I've never had a contract.
Really?
And if someone wants a contract, I say, nah, I can do without the work. Thank you.
So often,
I've
if you don't have contracts are written, they're oral, and they still exist because
What I do,
they're an agreement between you and them.
right? I have deliverables and a date to deliver them.
Right.
So you've simplified the contract process considerably.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't do formal contracts either. We do everything in email.
Bullshit. Anybody who insists on that is gonna litigate you at some point, in my opinion. So
I disagree.
I don't need it. Thank you.
If you get with some larger businesses, that's just
I worked with the second largest REIT in Canada and did not need a contract. Sorry, that's horseshit.
I'm not saying every business.
They don't want to work with you if they insist. I'm sorry, I guess I scared them. Sorry. I'm pretty vehement on this because I think in our business contracts are a problem.
Well, like Bill was saying though, like what we do, I send a proposal and I have all the scope and terms called out in it. When I send them an invoice, I refer to that proposal by proposal number and date. Okay. So everything is covered there. I've got a contract, but not a formal contract. I have used a formal contract, but it's usually with a large corporation, and that's their policy. They won't hire a street sweeper without a contract.
Yeah.
And it's always written up by their lawyers to their advantage, and you end up redlining half of the damn terms in there before you finally come to something that's acceptable. Or, like you say, Terry, you just say, it's not worth it. You walk away.
It depends on who you're working with. Some people like every T crossed and every I dotted.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you've got to take all the steps. Some people don't want any of that.
Yeah, that's me. But one thing I do is I take money in as I deliver stuff. I get paid, so I take very little up front, get so much when this part of the project is done. When this part of the project is done, I get paid again. So at the end, I'm only going to lose a very small part of the deal if they don't, if they're assholes.
Well, like you can put an exit clause in that's completely legitimate if either party wants to end the contract within X amount of time. They give written notice, and that is that. You both have a heads up as to know what is happening, and you don't have to break any NDA like you used to, because a lot of big companies are big on NDAs, big on like their legal team is who handles it. And
if I sign an NDA with any company, that can stop me from working.
Well, it's just
thanks.
sharing their information. Like I'm not talking about like
not a non-compete. It's an NDA.
Yeah, not a non-compete at all. Never sign those. Just a simple you're not going to disclose their proprietary information. Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Oh, and they shouldn't. They should do the same for me.
They do.
Right?
It's most of the time.
I also tell clients, if I'm going to fire you, I'll give you 2 weeks notice. I want the same. Tell them that up front.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's good to come to agreement about the use of proprietary data when you're going to use it. For instance,
case studies.
When you want to use a case study, you want to try to win an award. You want to be able to share some of the information, maybe not the proprietary identifiable information, but enough of the information so that you can win those awards or write good case studies that hire other clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go and ask permission to do anything like that.
Yeah, and having permission first is usually a really good move.
Yeah.
If you want to keep the client.
It's better to ask permission than ask forgiveness.
Yeah. That's one of the times it is better.
Usually safer too.
Exactly. I put in contracts that if certain goals are met in this contract, that we will have another discussion on using it for case study. And most of the time, they're very open to that because they're not going to say no to a.
Well, as long as you're redacting
Discussion.
any identifiable information, they shouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, their companies are really good about that. If you just use example.com instead, but it's not as compelling.
I've had clients go ahead, use my name. I can use the.
Yeah.
I could use the
and we've had a few clients who said, no, you can never use our name.
Yeah.
Nobody can know we ever worked with an SEO company.
Yeah. See, if someone asked me, who have you worked for? I'd say, well, I can't tell you. So, if that's an issue for you, I can't tell you because I can't, I just don't do that.
I've had phone calls where someone said a lawyer called me and said he's going to sue me. I thought it was a joke. I hung up, called back. CEO of some large company called me and told me he was going to sue me. And I was like, I'm sorry, NDA, I can't give out information. And it all worked out for the best, but I got yelled at for a while. But
I would have told him to, I don't need an NDA. I'd just tell the guy to.
This was just a person that was running.
Come and get me in
company.
Toronto.
And bring a
That's what I told the last person who sued me from the States.
First, you got to find me.
No, I said, I told them, fuck off, because I'm not coming there. No, I said, fuck off, because I can't even get into the United States. So how you going to have me, testify?
Extradition.
Yeah.
Not for that.
For civil, is that possible?
Nope. No. Canadian government laugh at them. I mean, they're having a hell of a time getting someone who actually broke the law in the United States extradited.
Mm-hmm.
Causing one guy now, they're going to hang him, I guess, in China.
I worked for a court, and we used to have a deputy attorney general who used to fly out to get all these witnesses, and we'd sign documents for them to take, where we'd certify the docket of the cases, which would help them get the person released from the jurisdiction where they were being held to the jurisdiction of the deputy attorney general.
Yeah, I got moved from Toronto to London back then.
Yeah.
But that's when they're already in custody. Is that correct, Bill?
It's when they're already in custody, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're minding their own business, going about their day, and the police officer looks them up and says, "Oh, you have an outstanding warrant in this country. Why don't you come with me?"
That's why I'm not going back.
Mine wasn't even a country. Mine was just from city to city. They had to agree to come and get me before I had to go. Elsewise, Toronto police were going to let me go because I hadn't really done anything.
Have yet to be sued. Lucky on that department.
Sometimes they want you to testify and they want you to bring documents because you're not the ultimate target.
Or witness?
Yeah, just
you could be. They're doing a subpoena ducis tecum, where they're subpoenaing documents that might be in your possession.
And witnesses have no rights, really, right? If they're forced to answer questions truthfully, they can't plead the fifth. They basically
They have all the rights they would otherwise have. They can plead the fifth. They can do other things like that. Yeah.
watch too many court TV shows that they say
Yeah.
you're a witness. Sorry.
So Perry Mason isn't the ultimate rule.
Another name from the past, eh, Billy? Yeah, back before he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but now there's a new Perry Mason on HBO.
Yeah,
Yep.
I saw the new Perry.
He's
Mason.
not even a lawyer, or wasn't a lawyer. Now he is, I think.
He
Now
goes
it
from a private investigator to become a lawyer. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to
No,
ruin
that was the one before. The new one, I think he was,
HBO one.
yeah. I think, wow.
He's some sort of like a.
He was a detective of some sort, private dick. Yeah.
Yep. Right.
And kind of a punk.
Yeah. Tough guy.
Very different from the.
TV series. Yeah.
Yeah, probably the opposite of the Perry Mason that most people know.
They were trying to make him less boring.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a tough guy. And a drunk.
Yeah, the
Not
original
that there's
Perry, he had
anything wrong with that, Doc.
the original Perry had Drake if you needed a tough guy. He just picked his investigator on.
Yeah, that's kind of how this one. Not to make this all about Perry Mason, but that's kind of how he starts out. John Lithgow is some attorney that's like he's his protege and also his private investigator. Then he becomes an attorney because John Lithgow chisels his clients out of a bunch of money and runs out of money and kills himself. But sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah. Yeah, I realized that. Spoiled. Sorry.
Okay, so I can cross that one off.
It's actually a decent show. It's worth watching, I'd say.
It is a decent show. It's just a totally different tone.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I never watched the first one, so I don't have it. Yeah.
You ain't old enough to have seen the first one.
I know what the first guy looks like. They look very different. The first time I saw it, the guy's running around, catching people and acting like a cop. I'm like, whoa.
He just stopped starring in Godzilla movies. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that we need, is another Godzilla movie, or probably have. So, as far as rewriting headers, what do you think about the H1s? In relevant, H1s are generally becoming the title tags in a lot of cases as well.
When site owners create titles that don't tell you anything about the content of the page, and their H1s do tell you about the content of the page, Google's going to switch them to H1s.
Sure. And they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do a site operator where you want to list all the pages, and you can see what the titles might be. And often you see Google inserting headings as opposed to titles.
Yeah. If you also do a site operator and then a query afterwards, that's only available in the text of the pages. I've seen it change that way. If you just put the quotes around it, site colon example.com space quote whatever the thing you're searching for. That will sometimes work.
Hey, Terry, you said something earlier about wondering, why is nobody asking which title, when Google changes the title, which one are they using to consider for ranking?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, it seemed to me that whichever one they're using for ranking is the one that you would get if you did an in-title search operator. Because I would assume that that's going to pull an in-title per what they consider to be the title rather than what you consider to be the title. So if
Yeah,
it changes it up, that's the one that should show up in an in-title search.
Right. And if you do a search on all in title, you'll see it's not 65 characters, it's 85.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen Google use headings as opposed to titles. I've also seen them use alt text from a page as a title.
Oh, really? I've never
Yeah.
seen
Really?
that.
Wow.
All text in an image?
Alt text in an image on a page will sometimes
As a
appear as a
title?
title.
I've seen that one time as well.
It's work with a couple 100,000 sites and you'll see it.
It's
So
really weird to
perhaps,
see.
perhaps we could say that they're cycling through the document object model and looking for things that would to replace the title. That could be a possibility then.
Yeah.
It's a good chance they're cycling through the content on the page.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Consider alt text basically.
They're
The
they're
document object model would give you tags that would,
they're looking for
contain that.
linguistic features that might help, like matching the query terms.
Right.
I have no basis for this personal theory, but I think it is tied to the experiments that they're doing with passages so that they can pull out an image from anywhere.
Yeah, they made
And-
a point of saying that it has nothing to do with passages.
Search Engine Journal came out with an article on that, said nope, not passage
No, it's
indexing.
not that.
No. But that makes sense.
So some of the patents involve passages and answering questions talk about using context and headings and page title as a root heading to understand what the context of a passage might be on a page and what headings it falls within.
And if you think about it, Bill, where they were saying passages, right, could be a small passage in a large page that is, about something else, but they're taking that small passage and in order to make a good query, like a good SERP, they're replacing the title so it more matches the...
Right. You have a query that's related to blue jays, and you've got a page that's about native birds of North America, which has a passage about blue jays.
Right.
And that passage about blue jays in the bigger page that covers much more stuff may be more relevant to what you're asking than the other page is just about blue jays.
Yeah, and they might use anything that's even bolded or something. If you bolded something above or put it in a heading, they're quite liable to use either one of them.
Right, but they're enhancing search results by using highlighting to identify things rather than to select things. So don't go bolding a bunch of stuff on pages hoping that that's going to help Google choose those, because it's unlikely.
Man, I gotta change all my sites.
So okay, we had a very popular, highly reputable Mid-Atlantic university where the SEO before me told the designer of the site, you can use title attributes for just about every type of HTML element. And I show up the next day and there's the site with all kinds of titles inserted. And I sent them a note saying, this is not what she meant.
No.
Slightly different. approach in this one.
I've never heard of title stuffing before.
I
But
So-
that is true. A title can be added to any HTML element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very useful attribute.
Yeah.
And she had a revision of the site that she was able to switch right back to. I think she anticipated being told that.
Oh, that it was a bad idea?
Yeah.
That's why you add it programmatically. It's a lot easier to remove it.
Like I was saying, it's a very highly reputable university
Yeah.
because they knew how to not get caught with shit like that.
Or it doesn't matter. Like if you look at remember when BMW did some shady stuff, and it's just like, hey, it's not the best user experience not to show BMW if people search BMW. BMW.com, at least.
Yeah. One of the most popular medical sites, medical universities on the East Coast, you're not going to show it?
Right.
Yeah.
Or if someone is searching for a brand, they want the brand, not a bunch of people who sell it for more money.
And sometimes Google does stuff that doesn't seem quite on par with that. Like when the Nissan family owned Nissan.com and the car company wanted Nissan.com. Well, the family got to keep their Nissan.com.
Of course.
They ended up selling it, of course.
They ended up being offered lots of money for it by Nissan, the car maker.
They were just trying to take it for free based on the trademark.
Well, once upon a time, domain names were free.
Yep.
And then you ended up seeing names like sex.com selling for $79 million.
Mhm.
Wow. That's a lot.
That wasn't for very long that domain names were free. I've never seen it.
It wasn't for very long, but it did happen.
Oh, I'm sure it happened, but it didn't happen for very long.
I actually had someone call me the other day and ask about if they could get a domain and where to get it for free. And I was like, do you mean a discount, like a code or something? And they're like, no. And they literally thought from back then, apparently, that it was free. I had to inform them.
Well,
no.
by rights, nobody can sell you an IP address.
No.
Just not.
I mean, I'll sell you
It
one. If
says
you give me
right
money.
in the charter that they can't be sold.
If you want to buy an IP, man, I got the IP for you.
Well, I'm just telling you, but that it's not legal.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
it's
that wouldn't
not.
make any sense.
It's not the way it's supposed to work. They're not supposed to be sold.
I don't think IPs would have any real value, except for like 1.1.1.1, like Cloudflare uses for, or 8.8.8.8, like quad 8 or quad 1s or even quad 9. All those are.
You
Or
can literally,
some
some businesses are not able to run on one IP.
Yeah,
Literally.
of course. No, I agree with that. That makes
So,
complete sense.
That's why you can't sell them.
Well,
right.
like you mean like
Different than a domain name.
selling it for like hosting companies will sometimes charge a little bit more for a dedicated IP, or
They can't. They can't. Go look it up. I'm telling you, they can't. It's against the rules.
I'm telling you, we do. And have paid for dedicated IP addresses for decades. Because
Not by right, not by the way the standard is written.
well,
It says right in it, they can't be sold. They can
Well-
say we're going to include an extra IPs if you buy this.
You don't own the IP; they just give you a dedicated IP.
You got
You
the
don't
right
own
to
it.
use it. Yeah.
you just have that you're the only person who can be on it.
Right.
Until you stop paying.
Right.
It's like when you go to the store and you buy software. You don't own that software.
Right.
You have a EULA that you've got
You
to
have
agree
the
to.
right to use it. That's it.
Exactly.
And what they're doing is they're not selling you an IP. They're including it in a hosting package, which is different than selling the IP directly. But
Yeah.
if they're telling you we're charging you X for an IP, tell them they can't and show them why.
Not from a customer's point of view, it doesn't matter. They're still having to pay.
Oh, sure.
They'll just
Right.
tell you that they won't do business with you if you don't pay for it. And then,
Well, that's fine. But there's lots of places that don't do that.
right. No, I agree. And I think that dedicated IPs are only good for very few things today.
You don't need a
compared to what it used to be.
dedicated IP.
Right. Especially to rank, which a lot of people believe IPs have something
Because
to do with ranking.
10, 15 years ago, it did
They
matter.
did. Yeah, they did.
Right?
Especially
Because Google didn't know the difference between your domain and some cowboy that is also on the same IP.
No, you're exactly right. And
That's, it was called a bad neighborhood.
also, if you wanted to rank in Germany and the United States, and you had your subfolder and all that, you wanted to put a server in Germany with a German IP, and that was a signal to Google that you wanted. I mean, small signal, but a signal nonetheless. And then they got rid of it.
Well,
And numbers are becoming more portable. It's like I've got a phone number on my mobile phone that's Delaware based, and I live in California, and I'm in no hurry to switch it to a California.
And that's because the government's made the phone companies make those numbers portable.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't do it because they're nice guys. They did it because they had to.
You don't think they're nice guys? Wait.
I've never met a nice guy at a telephone company. Never. Not one. Same with a bank. Never met one.
So I've met some nice people at banks.
Me too.
I never have. All assholes.
Well, that's because you walk through the door like that.
Yeah.
Right. When you call them stuff like that, they're not going to be happy with you.
Yeah. I don't like getting asked for my ID, that's all, because I don't have any.
I don't like getting asked for my IP. No.
I guess I'm just too used to a small town where I could walk into the bank and I knew everybody in the bank and they knew me.
Everybody knows your name, huh?
Right. But even when I first came to Toronto, same people were in the banks for years. Then all of a sudden, every time you go there, there's a new person.
Yeah. That can happen, but I agree. Like I know everyone at the bank I go to, and I like them quite a bit. But banks are starting to move online, much more common than I think they're going to start taking over.
In the United States, you actually have a banking system. Right here, we have 3 or 4 companies that own fucking everything.
Ooh.
And a lot of local companies are losing employees, long-term employees. People have worked there for years. They're leaving. They're saying, I can get paid more working somewhere else. As part of the remote response to COVID, where people started finding out that they could work in a place like San Francisco and not have to live there because they can work from home.
I've known that for 25 years. Didn't
Right,
need
but-
COVID to tell me that.
But companies need to have a remote policy. Otherwise, you need to come in the office every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know why companies really think that they have to have people in the office every day? Because they actually believe that those people won't work from home.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's all that.
No,
I
that's
think
true.
It
I
is. That's
when I was-
90% of it.
When I was a business consultant, I had a Fortune 500 client who they had an employee motivated action trying to get them to authorize remote workers for their customer service department, which was like 128 some people, okay, to take customer service calls. The president was adamant against it, okay? Said, no way are we going to pay an employee, plus, the burden of cost 2.5 times whatever they're making at the end of the day, for somebody to sit around and watch General Hospital all day long in their living room. He was convinced that if he couldn't trust them, that if
When
he
they
didn't
have
control
performance reviews,
now about
What channel is that at again?
and about 8 months ago, I was on the phone with him because he's telling me you were right. Our productivity is up 27% since we started going remote. They just vacated a 53,000 square foot office building. And all of the costs that go with that, the utilities, the insurance, the parking, all this crap. And they were able to give their people a raise and still put something like 15% more in the account at the end of the day.
Think
He
about
said,
all
I
the
should have
things
done
you-
this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, I think if you think back, Mark, you might have been told that 15 years ago.
Think about all the things you spend money on because you have to. You have all those people there.
Yeah.
Things like
Yep.
printers and
Oh,
toner.
yeah. Office
And-
supplies and shit. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of savings, but there's a downside to it. Now, the landlord of that building.
You've got to pay the janitor. You've got to pay the people who water your plants. You've got to pay the people who wash your windows.
They're already
Those-
converting office buildings into apartments in Toronto.
Well, that's the problem because now they saved all this money and they were able to give raises to their employees, but they vacated this building. Now some landowner, the owner of the building, is sitting with an empty property, desperate to find some way to recover his losses. And turning it into condos or apartments is one way to do it, but there's a cost involved in that. And he just lost 17 months of rent. So where's he going to come up with the cash, to drop 6 figures into refurbing it? It's there's ups and downs to it.
Well, if you listen to kids like my daughter, rent seekers don't deserve to live anyway. So,
whoa, it's a hard line.
it is pretty hard. But from a certain perspective, I get it when you have these corporate landowners that are buying up all this residential property, fast, so that people who are actually, I mean, she went through this just recently trying to, sell her house and move. I mean, houses were getting bought out from under them. They put in like 12 different offers on houses before they finally got one where they could get the house. And it's not like these were bad offers. These were all above asking price.
Is this
offers.
recently during the COVID
like
shortage?
The last 3 months.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare. Real estate's been a nightmare.
And they've been
People
getting
are
help.
exiting cities.
Well, they've been
People
getting
are
help.
leaving the city.
Hello, and
If you don't have to work downtown, there is no reason to live in the city for most people.
but then even out here in the rural area, you can't find any land out here. It gets bought up so fast. It is ridiculous.
The market is insane.
And
I have
properties in small towns are getting bought up.
Mhm.
I have a good friend that spent.
Well, because a lot of people now prefer small towns. They're they're seeing what happens in the big city. They want to get away from that. If you got kids, especially, who
when we
wants
moved
to,
here- We moved here 10 years ago, and there, next door to us, there's 120 acres, and next door to that, there's another 80 acres. And the guy bought the 80 acres and subdivided it into 5-acre lots and sold every single one of them.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, wait, you can't you're going to drop that many houses into a town of 800 people. It's like you just dropped 40 new houses. That's like, and they're not cheap houses. Nobody that lives here can afford to buy one.
I have a good friend that purchased a house in 2020 for $500,000, and his neighbor sold his for, I think, 1.3, and now his is valued at that price. It's really crazy how expensive things have gotten.
You sell now and buy when they go back to.
You could be that.
If you're lucky enough that you're in that position.
Have you seen this guy on TikTok? He's a very socialist propaganda kind of guy. That's his political thing. and he's gotten really popular on TikTok. And they just found out that he bought a house. He lives in Southern California. He went out and bought a house and spent like $1.7 million.
Big mansion.
No, it's just a little house. And everybody's screaming, "Oh my God, you pretend to be a socialist, yet you drop $1.7 million on a house." And he's like, "That's what they cost here. This is what
You could get a cheaper one, but
No, he's probably got
Not much.
a beach view.
yeah,
No.
It's 1.7 million.
1.7 doesn't buy much of a house even here.
it's true. I mean, the prices have gone absolutely ridiculously insane. If I have anyone builds a time machine, please let me know, because I want to go back to 2008 and do some business, and also, I'll go all the way back to when it's like
I want to go back to 1940.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for as well.
Right after the crash recovery finally took hold, that you can park me there. I'll be a happy camper.
That's what Grandpa used to say: buy land, because they aren't making any more unless you live in Hawaii.
Or no, China, where they're building the islands.
Japan just got a new island last week.
Nice. That's it's amazing. They're always like I know a guy who actually, like, believe it or not, his grandfather's something like that was one of the people that bought over 200 acres on Nantucket back for under $200. And he sold literally 75% of it by the time he passed away, but still there's tons. I mean, you can just imagine what that's worth.
How much were the flower fields selling for in Encinitas, Sarah?
Oh, I don't know. I was really little. My uncle came back from the war. Actually, he started growing flowers in the land behind my grandmother's house. She owned big.
Yeah.
And then he leased land. So by the time he actually bought land, I don't know. I was still a little pipsqueak.
They had some huge plantations.
Huge.
When we
A
lived
lot of acres. And he had different, I used to go ride out with him because he would change the irrigation. And we went to all the different fields where the flowers were growing to change, what the sprinklers were doing. But it was kind of a ride around, the back hills behind Carlsbad and Encinitas, because he had so many places where the flowers were growing.
Yeah. They have one section you can visit. It's 40 acres. It's all flowers growing now. It's flower fields in Carlsbad.
Yeah, I saw that. When I was living there, I absolutely boycotted it because it upset me to go see workers working. I didn't think it was cool. I still don't think it's cool.
To see workers working or see them?
Yeah, workers working. Yeah, it's all about, they put people in carts and they drive them around when the flowers are in bloom. And it's so you can see these fields of flowers. But meanwhile, there are all these Mexican workers making it all happen.
Oh, okay. I understand.
I did that picking tobacco on one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I went and picked cotton one summer.
Same thing.
I will
Back
never,
breaking.
ever touch another cotton plant as long as I live.
Guy said to me, "Well, you're leaving after half a day. I'm not going to pay you." And I said, "Fuck that. I pay you to leave."
Yeah. Doc, my never, ever, ever is removing an old roof.
I've done
I
that.
did that. That was not fun.
Asphalt tends to stick together with everything else. My father created the roofing underlayment stuff for a lot of companies, and that stuff is a nightmare to take off. If it hits 80, you basically you're taking the wood with it. People always want.
I did that one summer on my ex's grandfather's house down in the Mojave Desert.
Ugh.
Ooh,
It
Ugh.
extra sticky.
was
Oh,
120 degrees out,
Ugh.
and if you walked fast enough across the roof, your sneakers didn't actually leave any rubber on the. I left white. I kid you not. I had white soles on these old tennies I was wearing, and I left white footprints across this gray roof.
I believe it.
Oh God!
My dad said
it's a miserable job, that's for sure.
My dad said when he was a
Hard
kid,
work.
he owned a roofing company when he was a kid in college, and he would set a pucker trap where they put hot tar on a hammer and ask the guy to grab the hammer for them. I guess that was their idea of fun. I don't know what was going through their heads, but yeah. So beware if someone. I mean, I don't know how that would really play out that too many days, but yeah. So like, I'd say, what do you guys think if you had to say one thing that's been the biggest change in search engine optimization in the last 5 years?
Last 5, well, it probably started more than 5 ago, but I think for me the biggest all impactive thing has been the development of more NLP capability on Google's part. But it didn't start just in the last 5 years. But it's continued.
Yeah, it's like 10, 20 almost.
But NLP has definitely been the single largest impact that I've seen since the early days.
Using language models to identify entities, parts of speech, and extract tuples from pages and natural language declarations.
Co-occurrences.
It's a way of inserting that information into things like knowledge graphs or question answering. It's not content creation and it's not indexing, but it's a way of finding data and using that data in ways that wasn't originally anticipated by the designers of sites.
A much more complicated and better system than n-grams, basically for labeling things or for figuring out the relevance. In a way.
Before that, it was just links and who could put the word on the page the most without making it sound like nonsense. That's what optimization was 10 years ago.
Right, and that's what spinning turned into, the nonsense part.
Oh man, the spinning.
Heavy on the nonsense and the links.
Yeah.
I never understood spinning because it was always sort of this unreadable. The words were there, but it was totally unreadable.
But you could read it. It just took 4 times, and you couldn't understand it no matter how.
No.
Bob went to the market.
I never understood the advantage of spinning.
A lot of spinning only gets seen by Google. Nobody else.
You mean they're hiding it? They're hiding it?
No, I mean it's cloaked material. They're delivering different content to Google than they are to you.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense. But, I mean, to play that game doesn't seem like it's... I mean, I know a lot of people...
It's not sustainable. You're constantly on the move.
Yeah.
Which is how the game... I remember when people just used to make a bunch of websites and expecting them to go down and build more. They're the same thing. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah. I remember when analytics used to show you keywords. That was a nice feature.
That was a long time ago.
2011.
Most SEOs don't even know what it's like to see keywords in their analytics.
So I remember using Overture to do keyword research.
Yeah.
It was great to be able to see this person arrived at this time to this page, and this is what they typed in to get there. And what a benefit to have for a free resource.
It's when you shared web traffic statistics. So you weren't usually doing analytics. You were saying this is how many visitors you get to your website.
Right. Guys, I've got to go. My neighbor was over a few minutes ago. She needs some help, so I'm going to go. Great discussion. Good to see everybody.
Well, it's good to see you. Good luck with the help.
Good to see you, Sam. Hope everything goes well.
Yeah, it will. Ciao.
Later.
Bye
Bye.
now.
Andy chimed in, but I don't know what he's referring to.
I think he is referring to this hangout on there.
Oh, okay.
He's telling us he saw it and came to visit and watch.
Oh, awesome.
We're at the top of the hour again. So we might have to say goodbye to everybody and thank them for coming. So thank you for joining us. Take care.
Later, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.